All right. Good evening and welcome to Kepler's Teacher Information Webinar. Give me just a second here. Looks like the name is showing up as Daniel Fukushon. Okay. Well, once again, welcome to Kepler's Teacher Information Webinar. I want to thank you for joining us this evening and taking time out of your schedule to learn more about Kepler. And I want to thank you for attending. I'd like to go ahead and just jump right in, as it's a Friday night and a lot of people are taking time out of a normally a leisure time to come and attend a teacher webinar. So let me just begin this here. There we go. My name is Scott Postman. I'm the president of Kepler Education. And we're going to try to figure this out here. Oh boy. And all kinds of screams. Okay. Here we are. Let's try this one more time. My name is Scott Postman. I'm the president of Kepler Education. And once again, I want to thank you for attending our webinar tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Kepler, and I'll be walking you through the various aspects of Kepler and sharing with you what we do, who we are, and why we believe that we have something unique to offer the online education world, particularly in classical Christian education. Tonight, we'll walk through a few things, and I want to just share with you, first of all, what you can expect. And there's really 5 things we're going to look at, and then finally give you an opportunity to know what's next. How would you follow up? So we'll talk a little bit about what Kepler is, how to understand Kepler, how to think about it. We'll explain what Kepler does or why Kepler exists. We'll talk about who Kepler serves, and then we'll talk about what kind of teachers would be part of Kepler. And then we'll talk a little bit about where students come from, and then if you're interested, how you would follow up and be a part of Kepler. So for some reason here we go. Before we get too far in, I do want to just take a moment and recognize our team. There's a team of talented entrepreneurs, developers, educators that are all part of Kepler. A lot of times it's my face that you see, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes working very hard to make Kepler what we believe will be a very unique educational experience. Daniel Fukushon is our Chief Executive Officer. Michael Helvey is our lead developer. David Fukushon is our financial officer. Cooper Salmon is our marketing coordinator. He's the guy behind all of the great content and things that you see going out on social media. And then Cooper White, who works for Roman Roads, is a software and operations consultant for Kepler. And I just wanted to let you see a little bit behind the scenes and see who's part of Kepler, and let you know that this is, even though it's just my face you usually see, this isn't a one-man band, but we have a great team of talented educators and developers working on Kepler. So let's start by asking what Kepler is. And the first thing that I would want you to know is that we are not a school. And while I make that distinction, it's sometimes a little bit difficult of a distinction to conceptualize, simply because what we're doing is education. But if you insist in your thinking of us as a school, think of us as a school with a very streamlined administration and a very robust faculty. And Kepler is a little bit of an inverted approach to education, and we'll talk about what that means here in just a second. So what is Kepler exactly? We could say that Kepler is a consortium of independent Christian teachers unified by a shared vision and an innovative online platform. And we're unified so that we can bring classical liberal arts education to junior high and high school students. Now, that's a fairly dense statement, something that would take some unpacking. So I want to do that tonight and explain a little bit about what each of these mean. And so let's start with a consortium of independent Christian teachers. What this means is that the teachers at Kepler are, if we can use a marketing term, they are creating their own brand. Teachers come to Kepler to use the platform, to be a part of the consortium, but they are independent educators, they're Christian educators who have a desire to develop their unique teaching style, their approach to classical education, and perhaps they have even a group of students that they're already working with, and so we're going to be providing some tools for them. Now, I'll talk a little bit about what kinds of teachers will come to Kepler in just a few moments, but I do want you to think of us as a consortium of independent Christian teachers. We're coming together, and there's a few things that bring us together. So the fact that we're a consortium, the fact that we're independent, so the question then naturally arises, well, how does this group of independent teachers, how are they unified? How do you develop a culture? Well, we're unified by two things primarily, or maybe we could even say three. First, a shared vision for the classical liberal arts. Now, tonight you'll probably hear me interchange this expression, classical liberal arts, with classical Christian education or classical education or liberal arts education. And while these do technically have some distinctions, the way we're going to use them tonight are going to be fairly interchangeable. So all the teachers that come to Kepler are vetted and all have a shared vision for classical liberal arts education, which is a very distinct approach to education. And what I mean by a distinct approach, it really is the way education used to be in the Western tradition. And so these are educators who have a heart to revive this, or to see the revival of classical Christian education advanced even further, and believe that classical Christian education is, by conviction, is the real way to educate, or is the classic way of educating. The second thing that brings us together is the fact that we're united by an innovative online platform. Now, I want to pause here and talk about this platform for just a moment. It's a platform that at this point, as far as we know, does not exist anywhere. The innovative online platform that Kepler is creating will allow students to be educated, for teachers to use it, students to use it, and from registration to graduation, everything will eventually be housed in one easy-to-use platform, very robust, but so robust that it will be, in a sense, kind of a non-thing. And here's what I mean by that. The platform itself will be sort of like a window that you're educating through. Anyone who's experienced in online education knows that there's a lot of tools that are very helpful, a lot of great tools. But a lot of times what's happening is a teacher is trying to use several different tools. There's classroom management systems, there's grading systems, there's everything from registration and billing systems, and then there's the video conferencing systems. And so what Kepler is doing is developing one single platform that will house all the tools that a teacher will need, or all the tools that a student will need to get a classical Christian education online. And then finally, we're united by a similar vision for junior high and high school students, that there's a passion amongst teachers at Kepler to educate young people. We're not just about educating a particular kind of curriculum, but rather we're about educating students. And so this shared vision for the liberal arts, this shared platform that's innovative, robust, and powerful, and this heart for junior high and high school students is what brings teachers together at Kepler. Now, a lot of people ask us about Kepler. Where does Kepler come from, or where do you get the name? And a lot of folks rightly associate Kepler with the scientist and philosopher, the scholar from the 16th and 17th century, Johannes Kepler. And Kepler was widely known for his commitment to Christ, for his commitment to the liberal arts. and the advancement of science in the West. Kepler was one of those few at a very crucial time that recognized a heliocentric system that Copernicus had set forth. And while Galileo was under, basically house arrest, Johannes Kepler was working out many of the theories and advancing Copernicus's ideas. But it wasn't just in the scientific realm. Kepler was very well known for figuring out a theorem or solving a problem, and then on the opposite page of his journal would write a glorious poem. And so we feel that Johannes Kepler accurately exemplifies the courageous, intellectually honest, um, and really the robust approach to education and human flourishing that we're attempting to cultivate within our academic consortium. So our name, of course, then is just, it's a hat tip to this great character, this great figure in history. So let's talk about why Kepler exists. Why does Kepler exist? Well, if we were to approach this from a strictly philosophical point, one thing that we would say is that we have a desire to liberate teaching from many of the constrictions, many of the restrictions, and many of the challenges and obstacles that teachers, educators, really the entire educational system in modern America is facing today. We believe that if we can empower teachers, while education is, as many educators are very well aware that, the current education system is in dire straits. If we can empower teachers to do what they are called to do, then we truly believe that we can help advance classical Christian education and cultivate human flourishing. So really from a philosophical or even a theological perspective, Kepler exists to accomplish these four things. Now, what does that mean practically speaking? Well, if we think about this in a practical sense, we've identified really four areas that seem to be very consistent, not just in online education, but also in brick and mortar private education. Several challenges that teachers typically face. One of those is insufficient income. Unless a teacher is teaching in a public sector somewhere, a university, state university, or public school, it's very difficult to make an income on which you could support a family in private Christian education. And certainly we recognize that most Christian educators believe in the importance of education. It's rooted in our our theological convictions, but that doesn't mean it's not difficult for a teacher who is investing their time into students and then having to go off to a second job or having a two-income family. And so this is one of the most significant challenges that teachers face. Also, a lack of independence, depending on which school that a teacher is involved with. Oftentimes teachers, institutions have a very strict or a very purposed focus. They're trying to develop a particular culture, a particular agenda. And so teachers sometimes, whether it would be the philosophy of the educational institution, or whether it would be simply just time, the ability to have some flexibility in their schedule for their own studies, for their own intellectual development, to write perhaps. Teachers are very restricted and lack independence often. And this leads to low efficiency and high burnout. Long hours, lots of grading, lots of preparation, lots of time mentoring students, not enough income, lots of time spent, working second jobs. And so a lot of teachers leave education to pursue more lucrative fields so they can support their family. A lot of teachers that would be good teachers are rendered ineffective or not as effective as they could be, because they're facing a lot of burnout. And then for those who have turned to online education, as I mentioned before, there's inadequate online teaching tools. While there are some good standalone platforms and programs, There is no one platform that encompasses everything that an online education um, would be able to give. And so, usually you're using several different tools, and so this makes it very difficult. So what is Kepler's solutions? Well, the first thing we want to be able to do is help teachers develop a sustainable income. We mentioned here, if you note here, 65 to 75% of tuition share to start with. What that means is in typical online schools, a teacher may get 50% of the tuition that's set by the school. And in order to make an income, they have to teach more students. And there's sort of a diminishing curve that happens there. By the time you're teaching so many students, you can't manage them well. Your teaching becomes ineffective. And we get back to that burnout and still not enough income to support a family. Now, no one goes into education thinking they're going to become wealthy. That's just not the way education works. But we do believe that our benefits model, or our compensation model, rather, can provide a sustainable income. We start teachers at 65% of the tuition, and depending on education and experience, can start as high as 75% of the tuition share. Also keep in mind that, as we'll talk about in a moment, teachers are going to be establishing their own, they're going to establish the tuition for their course. So they develop their own course, they establish the cost of that course, and Kepler returns, 65 to 75% of that, depending where they start. We also have in our plan our attempt to develop for teachers who return and with a new contract each year. Our hope is that we can continue to increase that by at least 1% each year, and reach our goal, if we can maintain it or if we can achieve it. Our goal would be ultimately to hope to be able to get teachers up to even 85%. So again, we're trying to supply solutions, and so the first one here is a sustainable income. The second thing that we are providing for teachers is independence and flexibility. So a teacher remains, they remain an independent teacher, even though they're part of the consortium. They are an independent teacher. They develop their own courses, and again, to use the marketing term, they develop their own brand. And they have a lot of flexibility. They choose when they teach their courses. They choose how many courses they want to teach. And so by coming to the platform and teaching there, they're opening themselves up to a host of students who come to the platform, but they can be as flexible as they want to be. If they want to teach full-time, there's an opportunity to teach full-time. If they want to teach part-time, they can teach part-time. But there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to teaching, depending on what their situation is. They don't get hired on as a teacher and then lockstep 5 days a week, 6 hours a day in 6 different classrooms with these are the students, these are the classes you teach. They have the independence and flexibility to teach what they want to teach, and focus where they feel that they're most gifted and interested. Then thirdly, we advocate for what's called a flipped classroom. Sometimes this would work in hand with an Oxford or university model. And what that means is that using the university model, teachers can teach more classes without committing more time to the classroom. In a flipped classroom approach, say they may give a lecture on one day and then they meet with their students on a second day for recitation. The rest of the week, the students are doing their work, writing, reading, engaged in the work that they have to do for the class. Now, teachers can also incorporate other tools like pre-recorded lectures that they could use year after year. And so they could give the students a pre-recorded lecture and then meet for an hour-and-a-half recitation once a week. And that would be a fantastic model. It's a proven model that has been used for for a long time, and it's a model that would allow teachers to teach more students, to teach more classes, and still maintain that flexibility. So just let me just give one example of what that might look like. Because um, we're a classical education platform, we will limit each section. That means where the students do their recitation, where the teacher is engaged in discussion and recitation with the students. Those sections or classes are going to be limited to 12 students. But suppose a teacher has a very popular course, a literature, integrated humanities course, or something along those lines, and they, let's suppose 60 students want to register for this course. They could do something like we're doing here tonight with the webinar. They could lecture on one day and spend that hour lecturing, maybe some Q&A afterwards, and then throughout the week, smaller groups of 12 students would meet together in different sections in order to have their recitation time. Using this kind of a model, a teacher is limiting the amount of preparation time. They can teach the course over and over again. They're teaching this, a lot of students in smaller segments, and so they're accomplishing a classical model while at the same time being able to bring in more students to their classroom. Now that's just one example. There's a number of ways that a teacher could they could approach the classroom, an online classroom. And then lastly, and again I mentioned the innovative platform and teaching tools. By integrating all of the tools onto one platform, and we are building this agile, meaning that as each feature is introduced, we'll add that, but the platform can continue to be used as we add each of the features to the platform. But this innovative platform, again, will simplify things, and teachers aren't spending a lot of time just teaching students how to navigate online education because the simplicity and the ease of which they'll be able to navigate it will save the teachers and the students a lot of time that way. So these are four of the solutions that are four of the challenges that we've identified, and the solutions that we're hoping to meet. Now, let's rephrase this. Let's come back and just kind of gather this back together and think about it in light of what's been said. Kepler exists then to unite students with quality teachers. So we're a place where teachers and students can meet. Kepler exists then to cultivate the best possible education experience by using the platform, leveraging online technology. Students and teachers can have the flexibility on both sides to create the classes, to have classes whenever they want to, whatever is the best possible experience for them. And of course, with the platform, this gives them ease of the experience. The third thing is to ensure the best possible economic benefit for both teacher and student. By using a free market approach, teachers and students determine what the cost is going to be for the course. Kepler doesn't determine that. So the teacher that may be very experienced may charge a fair market rate price for the course, and perhaps a teacher who is just coming into classical education, still needs some experience, may discount their courses in order to gain experience, to earn trust, to be able to still be a quality teacher, but be able to get the educational experience that they're looking for. And so we're ensuring this best possible economic benefit for both parties. And that's the three things that kind of bring back around to why Kepler exists. Now, what does this mean for the student? And I think it's important that we just take a moment and talk about the student for a moment, because our client, if we put it in those terms, is the teacher. And the teacher's client is the student. But in order to support the teacher, we have, we have benefits, or we have features that benefit the student. So here, looking at it from the student's perspective, Kepler offers a network of quality educators. So students are going to come to the platform and search for courses, search maybe by course or by diploma track. They might or search for courses based on a diploma track. They may search for courses based ad hoc, maybe or a la carte. They have a program already. They're homeschoolers and they just need a particular course, but they can come and choose from a network of quality educators. Right now, with all of our applicants in, more than half, actually, I think close to 3/4 of our applicants have graduate degrees. And so and most have 5 to 10 years of experience, some upwards of 20 and 30 years of experience teaching in a classical Christian setting. So there's already a strong network of quality educators that's a part of Kepler, and we only anticipate um, uh, a continued growth of those educators. The second thing that we're offering then is quality courses with a consortium of such high caliber teachers, teachers who have teaching experience. As educators ourselves, Kepler is offering some verification. We'll help teachers develop courses if they want that help. We'll verify the courses to see if they fit in the diploma track. Teachers are not required to teach a course that meets the diploma track specifications, but they certainly can if they want to, and we'll help make sure that those qualify so students get credit for those, high school credits for them. And so students are going to get quality courses, a network of quality educators. We're also supplying a diploma track. A parent comes in and says, I have a 7th grader, where do they start? And we have a suggested diploma track that will walk them through there, as well as the credits that they will need to get a high school diploma from Kepler. Fourth, again, students have the flexibility. They can choose classes. With such a large consortium of educators, they're bound to find classes that meet at times that are most convenient for them, and the flexibility of the various kinds of classes that they'd be able to take. And so there's a lot of flexibility in terms of time, in terms of course subject, and in terms of cost. And then last, a simple and easy to use platform. We think this feature is going to be extremely helpful. And in order to just kind of wrap your mind about what I mean by a simple and easy to use platform, or this robust platform, one way to think about Kepler, or think about the platform, is to think in terms of something like an Airbnb, where you can come in and search and find what you need. It's very clean and intuitive, very easy to use. You could think also of Kepler from this standpoint as sort of a Amazon marketplace or a Costco for classical education. So there's going to be a variety that students can choose from. It's going to be very easy to access it and use it, and the quality is going to be superior. Okay, so what kind of teachers, or who can teach on the Kepler platform? What kind of teachers would want to teach? So to begin with, we're making an assumption about 3 things when we invite teachers. They fill out a teacher interest form. There's 3 things that teachers should assume before they do that, and that is, first of all, that they're Christian of any Orthodox tradition, meaning that they could affirm and commit to the Apostles' Creed, or the Nicene Creed, more specifically, and hold to some traditional Christian morals that up until just recent days or years have never really been challenged. And so we're looking for quality, not only Christian educators, but quality educators, educators who are qualified. They are educated themselves. They have experience teaching, or they're educated and they're looking for some experience. There's a place for teachers like that as well. And then teachers who are called to teach. And really, we feel that Kepler is going to benefit teachers most of all who really feel compelled to be an educator. They feel that this is their vocation. And so what we're trying to do is supply the tools, the training, the support, the help for teachers who are really called to be educators, so that they can be liberated from any restrictions, or in some cases constrictions, that would prevent them from being their very best, being the very best teacher they could be. But when people usually ask this question, they're looking at it a little bit differently. Those are some assumptions that we want to make about all of our teachers, that they're Christians, they're qualified, and they're called to teaching. The three kinds of teachers that we might think about in terms of practicality would be what we call the traditional, the independent, and the professional teacher. Now, we don't have actual categories for these kinds of teachers. Nobody signs up and says, I'm signing up to be a traditional teacher or I'm signing up to be a professional teacher. But these are ways of categories of thought. These are ways of thinking about the different kinds of teachers or the different kind of ways teachers teachers could take advantage of Kepler. So you might think about the traditional teacher. This is someone who is maybe used to teaching in a brick and mortar classroom. Maybe they've taught online full time. This is someone who would like to have a full schedule, make their living as a teacher full time. And maybe they'll fill up their schedule to teaching, 18, 20, 30 hours a week in the classroom. Kepler would afford them the opportunity to teach that way. And so there, a traditional teacher could make a full-time living as a teacher, and being able to really spend time investing in their students. Then we think also of the independent teacher. The independent teacher is the teacher who may want to teach one or two courses. Perhaps they were homeschooling their own children, and now they have the empty nest situation, and they want to continue to teach, but not full time. Or maybe they're retired and they don't want to go back to the classroom, but they would certainly like to continue to be an educator and maybe teach a couple classes a week. So there's a variety of situations where an independent teacher could come in, or maybe they have a very specific set of courses they want to teach. They want to do it a specific way, pardon me, and in a very limited capacity. Kepler would be a great platform for them to do that on. Then lastly, we think of what's called the professional teacher. And I think it would be important to note that we don't mean by a professional teacher, we don't mean that the others are not professional. What we're talking about are teachers who maybe they're university professors, they are perhaps published authors, and they have a particular course that they're known for, or that they are well acquainted with, or that they're very passionate about, and they want to teach just one or two courses that's sort of an extension of their teaching platform already. Maybe they're at the university, they teach a course on Lewis and Tolkien, and they want to bring that course to high school students. And so this would be a great place for a teacher like that. Perhaps a teacher's written a book. Think of one teacher that's on a platform written an apologetic book, and they'll be teaching apologetics course this year, centered around the text that they wrote. So these are some different kinds of teachers, or different ways of thinking about the kinds of teachers that would teach on Kepler. The second thing, or the next thing that is often asked, where do the students come from? How do teachers get students? With all these teachers coming to the platform, does that mean that there's not very many students? How do we find our students? Where do they come from? So, and this is a very important question. So let me address it this way. The first line of recruitment comes from the teacher, him or herself. So remember, we were talking earlier, it said that the teaching, that a teacher has maybe a particular brand, or as an independent teacher, they may already have students they're teaching already, and they want to bring them to the platform. But the teacher's the first line of recruitment. By using the technology that's available, social media, their own contacts, they're inviting students to come, they're advertising their courses, and I'll show a couple of examples here in a minute of each of these. So the teacher's the first line of recruitment. The second line of recruitment is the platform itself. And one way you might think about it is this way, that perhaps a student comes to the platform looking for a calculus course. And while they're looking at the calculus course, they realize there's a lot of other courses here that would meet some needs that we have. So why don't we go ahead and take an integrated humanities course, or maybe we'll pick up an astronomy or science course. And so by coming to the platform for one particular course, now they're introduced to other courses, other teachers, and they find something that meets their needs. And so the platform then becomes a sort of second funnel, a second line of recruitment. The third line of recruitment is Kepler's marketing team, and that's our recruitment through marketing. And I'll give you some examples of what that looks like here in just a second. So here's an example. Here's a picture here of, I don't know how well it's able to be viewed, but here's a picture of the teacher profile, or at least it's a mock-up of the profile, what the profile page is going to look like, or very close to this. And a teacher at Kepler is going to have their own profile page. On that page, you'll notice there are 3 tabs: their profile, the courses, and then settings. And so on the profile, the teacher is able to share their bio. They'll share their statement of faith, the tradition that that they come from. I didn't mention this very explicitly, or didn't really get very much into detail on this a moment ago when I was talking about it. But Kepler is a mere Christian platform, and so we invite, as I mentioned, all any tradition that would be considered orthodox in the Christian faith. And within that, we don't want teachers to feel like they have to tiptoe around, but rather, from their tradition, they'll be able to teach from that tradition, if that would be applicable. But so that would be on their statement of faith, tradition they come from, their statement of faith, their bio, so the students can learn more about the teacher this way. There'll be a place for publications. If you have published a book or essays or articles somewhere that have been published, so people can get to know you better, those can be posted there. Your education, and give you an opportunity to share, what your education looks like. And then there's social media links and, and other, a blog or something that you have, so you'd be able to, to share some of your other avenues or outlets with students. And then on that same page will be a list of the courses that the teacher teaches. And so one of the ways we envision this being used is the teachers, through their first line of recruitment, would direct students to this page. This would be what sometimes is called a splash page, or a funnel page. This is the teacher profile page, is where people come to learn about you, come to learn about what you're teaching. And so you can use this to invite people, and promote, what it is you're doing. The course description with a link that will take them directly to the course being offered, so they can register for the course right from the page, right from your teacher profile page. So that's one avenue, that's one funnel, that's one way that students would come to the platform. Second, oops, get this to cooperate, sorry about that, is the course search page. This is what I was mentioning a moment ago. When you think of the students coming to the platform itself looking for courses, and this is a mock-up. It may or may not look exactly like this, but it'll look very close to this. So there's a way for students to filter by subject, by grade, if they want a full year course or they're just needing a semester, summer term. They can even search by price, by prices. There's a search bar where they can, type in a particular, if they're looking for, something very specific. And so by using these filters, this will lead students to the kinds of courses that they're looking for, and will populate with various teachers based on the criteria, whether or not that teacher, if it fits the criteria, their courses would be populated. And so this is sometimes what's called cross sales in the marketing world, but in education, we're thinking in terms of a student coming, they need one course, and they find out that there's offerings for courses that they're really looking, other courses that they need that would bring another teacher to student. Okay, and then the third is Kepler's marketing platform. We might call it a student recruiter, the position of student recruiter, or marketer, a marketing coordinator. But Kepler is going to support teachers and the platform by recruiting students through our growing mailing list. We have a large mailing list, and the Kepler mailing list is continuing to grow. And so, we'll continue to reach out to the various outlets that we have. We will host a podcast. We are going to provide a consortium blog. This is a place where teachers, educators can write and sort of share a platform where you exchange ideas and share different posts with links back to your profile page. And Kepler will share some of those blog posts. There'll be the Kepler blog itself, where we're continuing to put out static and evergreen content along with other dynamic content. Social media, and then Student Recruiter may attend some homeschool conferences or places where we feel that we could find students and bring them to the platform or introduce them to the platform. So Kepler's marketing team would be the third line of recruitment. Now, there's a lot of other things that we could talk about, a lot of things that that may interest you or may rouse some questions. The first thing I want to point you to is, if you haven't been to the website, to kepler.education, and invite you to come there. You can read the blog, you can look at a teacher, find our teacher interest form, sign up for our newsletter. And so the next step, if something like what we're talking about here tonight interests you, and you think in terms of this might be a place that I'd like to teach, then fill out a teacher interest form. We're continuing to interview teachers, going through the preliminary steps, several teachers a week. Those teachers who, through that first introduction and conversation, decide this is for them, and we feel that they're a teacher that would fit what Kepler is doing, then we'll invite you then to fill out a teacher application, submit course proposals, and go from there. So a couple of things, maybe just in wrapping this up, a couple of things to note is that while we are wanting to be careful about the teachers we bring on within a particular criteria, we also want to be very flexible and allow teachers a lot of freedom to teach from their perspective and how they want to teach. So our restraints or our regulations are going to be only what is necessary for student diploma track or credits, if the course is going to meet the credit requirements, and making sure that parents can have the confidence to know that when they come, the teacher is educated, the teacher is qualified, and the teacher is a Christian. And so those are the things that we want, to, I guess we could use the term regulate, but aside from that, we want to empower teachers really to do that thing that they're called to do, and that's to educate the next generation. Now, I'm not sure, let me look here and see how this works. I don't know if I'll be able to open up the microphones, but if you have a question, we've got a few minutes here left. I'd like to take some Q&A. And so if you have some questions that you would like to ask, if you want to kind of begin a conversation, I'm looking here to see if I can open up mic, but I don't think the webinar allows it, or at least I don't have access. So I'll wait here for just a minute and see if anybody has a question. Feel free to throw it in the chat box, and we'll be happy to try to address that question. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Let's see. Walter Stuckey. I think I can let you talk here. It looks like your hand is raised. Okay. Can the lectures have unlimited students? Excellent question. So can the lectures have unlimited students? Unlimited, I believe unlimited, if we think Zoom for right now is what we're using, we're pretty confident we're going with Zoom. There's a couple other options we're exploring, but I think Zoom will allow up to 100 students. So that would be the only limit, is whatever the technology would allow. And perhaps there would be um, some other avenues that would allow more students, but unlimited as far as the lectures. Absolutely. So if you're going to lecture on one on a particular in a particular course, and you have a lecture on one day, what we are going to limit though are the sections where the students are going to break out into recitation, and those are going to be limited to 12 students per classroom. Yes, recitations are only 12. So if you had 60 students, you're going to need 5 recitation times or 5 sections that you're going to offer for students to be able to sign up for. And once that's full, then it'll rotate over to the next one. Hope that answered that question. Let's see. Is there a set of guidelines that can help people prepare diploma track courses? Excellent question, Anissa. So we are right now, we have the diploma track pretty much finished. We just have a couple of eyes to look at it and make sure it gets approved. And we're hoping to release that next week so teachers can begin looking at that diploma track and what the criteria are. One thing that might be of help, or one thing to note that might be of help, the stages in which we're working, we've started the process with vetting teachers and signing contracts with teachers to teach on the platform. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have your course finished when you sign up or when you sign a contract to teach. The next step for teachers who are contracted to teach, we're working with you to get the exact courses, and then there'll be a secondary or addendum contract that basically says, this is the courses you're teaching, this is the percentage of tuition, this is the tuition you're charging, here's what you're committing to, here's what we're committing to, and then the course is set that way. So you can still contract to teach and get vetted and qualified to teach on the platform before the courses are actually even finished. But that's sort of a long answer to your question, but yes, we do have guidelines, and hopefully we're going to be releasing those next week, which that's the short answer. When do we anticipate to begin offering courses? Excellent question. Timothy asked, when do you anticipate to beginning to offer courses? As soon as we have teachers who have courses prepared, we'll begin putting them on the platform, putting them on the website. We're hoping that the website, believe that the front end is being designed right now or being developed, the back end is finished. And so the front end, I'm speaking in terms that I'm not really competent in, but from the developer and the designer's language, the back end is finished, the front end is being finished now. We're hoping by December 1st that the front end will allow us to begin putting teacher profile pages and course offerings up. Student registration will begin January 6th. We're going to offer a similar webinar to what we've done tonight for students and parents on December 6th, but then courses will actually be live and register, to be able to register for them on January 6th for the fall of 2020. I hope that answered the question appropriately, Timothy. From Carla, if the Kepler marketing representative is attending a homeschool conference and if there's a teacher in the area, will Kepler invite the teacher to be present as well? Absolutely. That's a fantastic question, and probably not one we actually thought all the way out, but that's a fantastic question. And so I'm going to answer that as a yes. We would do everything we can if we know that there's Kepler teachers in the area where a conference is, to let them know, to work with them. And that would be great to bring them out and let students meet the teachers in person. So everything that we are capable of doing, anything reasonable other than hog tying students and making them sign up. We want to help teachers. That's our goal. And so anyway, that's a great question, and I hope that answers it. And so back, yes, recitations are limited to only 12 students. So if you have more than 12 students for a course, then and you're going to do a university model, then you'll have to have sections to break out, limited to 12 students each. Is there a firm enrollment deadline for families? Right now on our timeline, the registration opens on January 6th, and I'm trying to recall this off my head without digging into my computer and looking at it, but I believe the deadline for family registration or student registration will close in August, and we'll have a we will have a way of dealing with late registrations, but our official registration or open registration will be closing somewhere at the end of August. And I have to look, I think we've published that. I just don't have it in front of me. I apologize. But there is a firm enrollment deadline for families. Okay. My disciplines would revolve around literature and theology, humanities. Being a new teacher, I've never designed a course or syllabi. How do you assist new teachers in develop syllabi and designing courses? Excellent, excellent question. So we will begin working with teachers as soon as we get teachers, as soon as you're onboarded and contracted to teach. We'll begin working with you. We'll probably produce several video tutorials, but in the beginning, we'll probably just meet with teachers, online through Zoom, and begin walking through. We'll publish some material, some helps, and then walk you through that. So we'd be more than happy to help you design those courses. What we're going to ask for when teachers apply, we're asking for a course proposal, which is a one-page proposal, and we have an example on the application. But that course proposal basically says, here's the course title, here's the dates and times I want to teach it, here's the model, or it's flipped classroom, university, or whatever. These are the dates and times, here's how I want to teach it. Here's a one-paragraph description of what the course is going to consist of. Here's the objectives I'm wanting the students to get out of it. Here's the list of books we intend to read. And from there, we'll begin to help you, disseminate that material into an actual course and syllabi. While it's ideal to have courses up as soon as possible, teachers can submit courses as late as the summer for fall registration. Oh, yes, very good. So as Daniel points out, if teachers want to continue to submit courses into the summertime, they can do that. Fantastic question. Kristen says, if I'm already teaching online successfully, what is the benefit to me to teaching with Kepler over what I'm already doing? This is an excellent question. So depending on, what that means by teaching successfully, if you're housing your own billing and, and teacher recruitment, everything, you're doing all of that, keeping 100% of your tuition, and you're doing that successfully. The only thing that would benefit you to come to Kepler would be the consortium of teachers that you would have access to interact with, through writing, through discussion, through the fact that they're going to be bringing teachers, which will also bring you teachers. So that would probably be the biggest benefit, is the consortium and the ease of use of the platform. But if you're already teaching successfully independently, then, and Kepler wouldn't offer you something like that, then we would, encourage that and say more power to you to continue doing that. Because, we just want to see teachers succeed, but we do really think that there would be something to the consortium itself, to being part of the consortium of educators. There's just something to the synergy, not only of bringing students, but also of being able to interact with various teachers in that environment. I don't know, Daniel, maybe if there's another thought you have on that, but that's the way I would probably approach that. That's a great question, Kristen. Yes, this has been fantastic. Any other questions? Right. One more time, I'm going to put the, see here, it was in the chat box earlier, but I think it scrolled up. You're certainly willing, or you're able to visit us if you'd like to online. will Kepler need to approve every course offered, or will you only approve the teachers? All right, fantastic question. Will we approve all the courses? We will evaluate all the courses and let the teacher know. Our first line will be to approve the teacher. Our evaluation of the courses will to let them know if it would fit the diploma track or not. But if a teacher comes on and says, I want to teach this course, I know that it doesn't meet the diploma track, but I have students who want to take it, I want to use the platform for its ease of use and to be a part of the consortium, but I want to teach it this way, then that teacher can teach that course, and that'll be part of the course description, and parents will be able to decide if that's what they want to do. So that's a great question. Okay, if you've already applied, when you'd be offered a contract, right now we're just working through all of them. We hope to start signing we were hoping to start signing contracts by now, but probably by next week. And so as quickly as we're able to, we're just processing them as fast as they're coming in. And we have a lot of teachers, which is fantastic. But if you just be patient with us, hopefully in the next week or so, we'll start signing contracts. Would the students and parents get the opportunity to meet, to write the teachers before registering for courses in order to get a sense of the teacher's personality and teaching style? Ryan, that's a fantastic question. And yes, through that teacher profile page, you can share links. Maybe if you've taught courses before and they're on YouTube or Vimeo or something, you can post the links to those courses. Your email address will be on there. So if parents want to contact you and ask you questions, you can correspond with them. And so absolutely, that will be an avenue that we would encourage. Tyler, fantastic question. Right now, teachers would be considered self-employed. They would be contractors. But we are doing, I guess we'd call it a feasibility study. We are researching the possibility of being able to offer W-2s to teachers who want a W-2. And so we haven't determined that, so I don't want to make that sound like there's any kind of promise there, but that is something that we are seriously exploring, and we've had several conversations, and it's kind of in the research mode right now. So, but for right now, they would be considered self-employed, but potentially there'll be an opportunities for W-2s. Fantastic question, by the way. Daniel says, let's see, the answer assumes a teacher that hosts their own teaching platform and none of the entrepreneurial elements involved are a problem. Keplers are perfect for the independent teacher. Pardon me. All right. Sorry, not a very, not a good time for a coughing fit. Yes, so Timothy asked, pardon me, the teacher interest form. Once you fill out the teacher interest form, we schedule an interview with you, a one-on-one interview, and then from that interview, we determine if it's a fit for both of us. Then we invite you to fill out a full teacher application. So that's part of our vetting process, is to fill out the teacher interest form. We'll schedule a one-on-one conference with you, and then we'll go from there. Oh, and looks like Gregory answered that question already. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, any other questions? It looks like we've come to the end of our hour, but we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. You can reach me. Let me put this up here real quick. My email is scott@kepler.education, and feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer anything I can. Absolutely. Thank you for attending, Kristen. Thank you all for being here tonight. And we hope to continue the conversation in person. God bless you all, and have a fantastic night.